Roommates, Memoirs of a Hairless Ape by TGWeaver and Pokemaniacal. Chapter 3, Bon Toast. To your credit, the movie you picked was a hit with the others. Of course, you're not particularly surprised, they obviously lack the appreciation for fine cinema that you do. Alas, a burden you carry that seems more of a curse than a gift these days. Nevertheless, you managed to somehow bolt even Bonnie to the couch for close to 2 hours, giving you ample time to study your new roommates while they're mostly distracted by the tube. Chica, the particularly tall hen, is one you've easily had the most exposure to so far. In more ways than one. You seriously wonder if she even owns any pants. She looks and dresses like a college girl on spring break, but the way she smoothly lays out priorities when greeting and introducing you reinforces her position as the head of the household. While she doesn't seem the type to want authority over all her roommates, there's no denying she's good at it. Then again, that doesn't come as much of a surprise given the rest of the inhabitants of this apartment. They don't exactly set the bar high. Her eyes are friendly and weary at the same time. Responsibility like hers likely gets tiring. No doubt it'll help to have more than one self-reliant person helping out around the apartment. And you realise that position is going to fall to you by default. You desperately want to tell her that you're anything but leadership material, especially after what pushed you into this whole setup. But then again, maybe this is the time for you to grow up a little too. Freddy is bizarre and eclectic, but what you can decipher strikes you as earnest, a stranger in a foreign land. Not only in his speech, but also his mannerisms and tastes. Nevertheless, throughout the course of watching the film, you've noticed him get up and tend to things that have needed doing, such as taking care of multiple loads of laundry that clearly aren't his and neatening up after Bonnie's messes. He's eager to help, selfless, and very agreeable. Despite the language barrier between the two of you, you plan on trying your best to make friends with the poor bear. The bunny, Bonnie, is a neurotic, unstable, manic mess of a girl. There's nothing about her that seems balanced, from the way she walks to the way she speaks. You can see why she's on such heavy medication. Any time a character in the movie raised their voice or there was a loud noise, she seemed to practically retract into the couch, even going as far as to dive behind the cushion at one point when a car alarm went off outside. She quivers like a leaf in a hurricane and eats like a sickly bird, going by the fact she finished maybe 1/10 of the food on her plate. Her clothes are baggy on her stick figure frame, and that's not because she's compared against Chica, who's almost hanging out of what little she's got on. But out of all of your new roommates so far, the one who bothers you the most is Mangle, by far and away. You've seen enough movies to know where this goes. The flirtatious jokes and the fluttery eyelids seem to be like a font for someone with a lot to hide. Halfway through the movie, Mangle irresponsibly offered Bonnie a glass of wine. Even though Bonnie refused, you noticed that no matter how many times she returned to her juice glass, it never did quite run out. By the time the credits began to roll, Bonnie'd calmed down considerably from before. It's blatantly obvious to you that Mangle was discreetly topping off Bonnie's drink. You find yourself more than a little put off by this. On one hand, Bonnie very clearly needs to relax. On the other, it gives you insight into Mangle's character that stirs up long repressed feelings in you. For now, you decide on the path of least resistance, vowing to call the fox out loudly and firmly should you catch it happening. Bedtime comes sooner rather than later. Bonnie tries a few times to make small talk with you, but it's obvious that she's still too nervous even after the soother. You generously make the excuse that you're tired from walking all day, knowing full well she's probably going to stay up at least 3 hours talking to Chica about you, maybe, given how much you've captured her attention for the evening. Mulling it over, however, the thought doesn't particularly bother you. There's no telling what's going through her head right now, and seeing as how even someone completely stable would be stressed by having a new person thrust into their household dynamic, you wouldn't blame her even if she did need to vent about your arrival, since her whole routine's likely been thrown off. Slight correction, everyone's routine, now that you dwell on it. This is as alien for you as it is for them. More so, really. Throwing yourself on a proverbial grenade, you fall back on your time-tested strategy of smiling and evading.
Thanks for having me, everybody, but I think I'm going to get some sleep.
You announce.
Oh, I can tell you're going to fit right in.
Chica replies, raising her own wine glass to you in a mock toast.
Have a good night, Mike.
Good night, Mike. Nice to meeting you.
Bonnie hiccups from behind her pillow. As you begin to head off, you catch sight of the rabbit leaning over to Chica.
Chica, you think he's Nolan Kelly, correct?
She stage whispers far, far, far too loudly to be subtle. Mangle cackles at this, winking at you as you pass by. Your stomach flip-flops.
Mike dear, sleep well. I'm right next door, just a hair's breadth away if you need any of my services.
Mangle offers. You don't. Freddy stares blankly at you as you walk out of the common area, so you dip your head in his direction and pantomime laying your head on a pillow. He nods in realization and moves for the hall closet, pulling fresh linens and a pillow from a plastic bag inside. You follow Freddy to your shared bedroom where he motions to the bunk bed. Quel prefetu? Not quite understanding his meaning, but getting the gist, you shrug and he pats the top bunk, inclining his head to you as if to seek permission.
Alright.
You reply, nodding your head to convey agreement. Freddy changes the sheets on the top mattress, then drapes the blanket over it gently before handing you the pillow. Mettez-vous à l'aise.
Thank you.
You reply, which is a phrase he's likely heard enough times to understand the general meaning of. He smiles ever so slightly at you before he closes the door behind himself, leaving you alone. With little else to do, you climb the ladder and crawl into bed. Despite not feeling too particularly tired, you're asleep not long after your head hits the pillow. You stir as the beams of light filter through the curtains. Glancing at Freddy's wall clock, it's just a little after 6 AM. Still a bit longer than you're used to sleeping, but you figure you needed the rest. After all, it's the first time in a little over 3 days that you've woken up on a surface other than asphalt, covered in a material other than newspaper. You are entitled to a little bit of comfort, right? Freddy himself is already awake and presumably working in the kitchen. You notice the bathroom isn't occupied, so you dive for it and freshen up hastily before heading out into the kitchen to see if Freddy needs a hand. Bonjour, he says. You start to greet him normally, then stop yourself.
Bonjour?
You reply hesitantly, searching his face to see if you made any sense. He stops what he's doing and glances up at you, a smile playing at the corner of his mouth. Bonjour, he repeats.
Bonjour.
You try again, a bit more confidently. He decides this is close enough and points towards the kitchen clock's AM setting. Bonjour, he says before pointing to where PM should be. Bonsoir. You mime the pillow motion from last night.
Bonsoir?
Freddy ponders your meaning for a moment before he shakes his head. Bonne nuit, he says, repeating the same motion. Pointing to the PM slot again, he turns back to you. Bonsoir. You're not at all grasping the insane Martian speak, but that's not going to stop you from trying. You pull a piece of paper off the notepad by the phone, jotting down the approximations of what you've been told along with what you think are the fair translations. You'll get the hang of it. After you try a few different ways to offer help with the kitchen, Freddy insistently motions for you to take your seat at the table, so you resign yourself to at least clean up a little bit. You meant what you told Chica yesterday, and you're not about to let her catch you slacking off. You start with grabbing a rag from the kitchen and dusting Mangle's paw prints and makeup off the chandelier. And speak of the devil.
Good morning, boys.
Mangle announces proudly, popping up from the air vent directly overhead the dining room. The vent cover bounces off the table and onto the floor, clattering to a stop like a manhole cover in an old cartoon. You're glad you relieved yourself before you came in here, because if you hadn't, you'd definitely be doing so right now. Bonjour, Freddy replies, without even looking up from slicing the bread. As soon as your heart settles back into its usual spot in your chest, you stare up at Mangle with bewilderment on your face.
Good morning. What are you doing up there, Mangle?
Mangle's eyes roll two complete rotations, as if you're somehow the weird one.
I prefer crawl spaces. Helps me get around more easily due to my condition.
Which is?
You ask, earning you an ireful stare.
Don't be vulgar, Mike.
Mangle chides theatrically.
A gentleman never asks, and a lady never tells.
Which are you then?
You reply, folding your arms.
Well, now you're just being rude, Mike.
Mangle sharply glares at you, teeth gnashing imperceptibly.
I'll let you make it up to me with one of those pastries from the counter. Just toss it up here.
You sigh and, plucking a scone from a nearby tray, gently lob it in Mangle's direction. A clawed paw darts out from the vent behind Mangle's head, spearing it in midair before retracting quickly inside.
You're a dear. I'll be in my room, if anyone inquires.
The fox angrily huffs.
I somehow doubt that anyone will.
You mutter, replacing the vent cover after Mangle thumps off into the distance. With a sigh, you finish wiping down the table, cleaning off the dust that was shaken loose from the vent.
Good morning, Mike.
Chica announces from behind you. She's a bit better attired this morning, wearing a pair of yoga pants and a cut-off tee. Following closely behind Chica is Bonnie, who hasn't even bothered changing out of her baggy nightgown. She murmurs something inaudible and flops onto the table, yawning loudly.
Not a morning person, I take it.
You comment, pouring her a glass of milk. As an afterthought, you add a silly twisty straw from a packet nearby before handing it off to her.
I love curly straws.
Bonnie hoarsely whispers by way of reply as she sucks down the milk in the glass.
Of course she's not a morning person. Not when she keeps everyone up until 2 a.m.
Chica playfully gripes, poking Bonnie in the side with a feather tip.
I don't think I've ever heard you talk that much. What did you have last night?
Just grape juice.
Bonnie insists.
Is it starting to ferment? Maybe we need a new bottle.
Anyway, Mike, today we were thinking of going shopping.
Chica claps her wings together, which, amusingly, doesn't sound like a clap so much as a sound of two sponges plopping together, thanks to her feathers absorbing the blow.
Our deposits were made this morning, and we need to restock on a few toiletries as well as get you hooked up with some stuff. Anything else you need? Socks, toothpaste, condoms, underwear. Probably could use some clean underwear, right? What size do you wear? Boxers or briefs?
Just the items on the list are fine for now.
You reply, blushing at her frank and rapid-fire questions. There are a few personal effects you wouldn't mind having besides just the basic toiletries, but you're not about to ask her to get them for you.
Actually, should I go with you? I'm totally free today, and I don't mind going at all.
Chica shakes her head.
Nuh-uh. Bonnie and I always handle the shopping, don't we, Bon?
Bonnie's already face down on her table mat, snoring. You gently tuck one of her ears back, only to cry out in pain when it snaps forward on its own, slapping you on your arm with enough force to leave a welt.
Right. Okay, cool. The stuff on the list. Can do.
Chica says obliviously as you clutch your stinging arm.
So, what's your deal, Mike?
My deal?
You choke.
Like, what do you mean specifically?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you yours if you tell me mine.
She replies.
Or, no, wait. How's that saying go?
I'm not really sure I follow.
You chuckle awkwardly.
Are you asking why I'm here, or...?
Something like that. Like, okay, I mean, how did you end up here? What's so terrible about you that you were forced into a cramped, low-income housing with enough roommates to rival the average sweatshop family?
Chica suddenly snaps her teeth shut, rubbing her scarred lips slightly.
I mean, oh, wow, that came out wrong.
You're saying I mean a lot again, Chica.
Bonnie murmurs as she lifts her head back up.
I know, but it's just, I wasn't trying to pry. Ugh, he's new blood and I'm just so curious.
Chica moans exaggeratedly, twisting her napkin back and forth in her wings. Before you can reply, Freddy sets a plate of some kind of buttery decadent looking toast covered in cinnamon and powdered sugar in front of you. And you're not sure you've ever seen anything that looks so delicious. The bread tastes like it was coated in egg and pan fried, and it's so rich that even one piece feels like it's enough to carry you through the whole day. So, of course, you'll end up eating 4 slices so you can hate yourself immediately afterward.
Oh, it's good, isn't it?
Chica says as she voraciously tears into hers. Her partial lips and lack of a beak means that she has to eat with one wing under her mouth, since she doesn't seem to have much to catch the food with in case it falls out while she's chewing. It's simultaneously repulsive and fascinating, but you do your best not to stare. Bonnie's not eating anything quite as rich as this strange, exotic, egg-ended cinnamon bread. Instead, she settles for a bowl of cold cereal. Some cartoony brand with marshmallows that have the same consistency and flavour as the packaging they come in. You notice her spending more time separating the marshmallows and the regular pieces from each other with a spoon than actually eating them.
Well...
You begin when Chica looks back at you expectantly. With a sigh, you decide on a very severely abridged version of your past.
Haven't been able to quite find steady employment since the work-related injury I suffered about 2 years ago. I never finished school, and most places didn't want to take a chance on me, so I eventually resorted to living on the streets and in shelters.
Wow, Mike.
Chica mumbles soberly.
I finally won some money from a class action settlement with my employer, so with a little money coming in, I found my way here. Now I'm just looking for a steady job, so I've got plan B when the check runs out.
That's close enough to the truth that it's plausible, and Chica ends up buying it.
And your skin? I mean, sorry, your lack of fur?
You blink at her. This is the part you're still getting used to.
I hate to break it to you. I've always been like this.
You chuckle.
You poor thing.
Chica murmurs, pulling your head into her chest.
Okay, let's not do this.
You gasp as she squeezes you tight, but she can't possibly hear your muffled voice.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Mike. Oh, the teasing must have been horrible when you were a kid. Man, that must have taken some real guts to deal with.
Coming from the bird with literal scars, you're not sure how to feel about that. So you just sort of laugh nervously as you try to wrench yourself away from her smothering chest. Eventually, you pry yourself loose from her iron grip, wheezing a little for air. Bonnie gives you a tearful gaze.
Mike, it's okay. You're still kind of cute. You can't help being broken like the rest of us.
Your smile's getting more forced by the minute.
So then, how about you, Chica?
Oh crap, it's almost 8. We better hurry if we want to get to the thrift store when they open. All the best stuff gets picked over by resellers.
Chica announces.
Bonnie, go get dressed and meet me at the bus stop outside.
Frowning, you carry your plates to the sink as the girls race to leave the apartment. Glancing back at Freddy, who's engrossed in the morning newspaper, you check your notes and then reason out what you hope comes across as a compliment.
Ready?
You point to your empty plate and then rub your stomach.
Bon toast?
He smiles back at you, tipping his hat slightly. Mercy,